Drive safe. Turn left. Keep left and then turn left. Turn left.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is John Tapp with the International A26 Engine
Finally,
instead of
we are here.
S13, and the Ultrashift 18 speed. The A26, it's the engine that the trucker has the LT with that. Other than that, we're gonna start with Spokane, Washington. So, so let's go get the waste paper and get started.
Time to hit the road. Turn left. Keep left and then turn left. Turn left. keep right, and then turn right. Turn right.
Donate it to the station. It could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. The donation process is easy for you and will pick up your vehicle in any condition. Here's how to get started. Go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/cars to learn more. Thank you.
Texas has a $24 billion budget surplus. State lawmakers have proposals detailing how they want to spend the money. School vouchers, teacher pay raises, cutting property taxes, and border security. But where do voters want the money spent? A new survey asks that question. We'll share the results on the next Texas Standard.
That's Texas Standard tomorrow morning at 10 after Houston Matters at 9 here on News 88.7.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate. Support comes from Specs Wine, Spirits, and Finer Foods, Texas family-owned and operated since 1962, offering a large selection of wines, spirits, and beers to choose from. Details at specsonline.com. The fun starts here.
Snag a free commemorative pint glass when you go to News and Brews. Join us February 25th at St. Arnold Brewing Company for an evening of beer, food, and fun with your favorite News 88.7 journalists. Go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate to get your ticket today. Tonight's low around 56 degrees, a slight chance of showers, patchy fog after 9 p.m. It's 59 and overcast here at the University of Houston.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Ari Shapiro.
And I'm Elsa Chang. The music industry's biggest night is coming this Sunday, the Grammy Awards. And this week, as we do every year, we're bringing you the stories of a few first-time Grammy nominees. We're going to kick things off in San Bernardino at the Yamava Resort and Casino, where we caught up with country music singer Charlie Crockett in the middle of his sound check.
Hey, Mr. Nashville, out there on the town, wine 'em and dine 'em, hand 'em a plastic crown.
Crockett was born and raised in Texas, grew up in a single-wide trailer with his mom, and says his family lineage traces all the way back to the frontiersman Davy Crockett. Well, now Charlie Crockett is up for Best Americana Album for his record $10 Cowboy. I was so excited to meet him, I showed up in one of my several cowgirl outfits.
Charlie, I want you to take note. I wore my boots for you. I wore my cowboy hat for you.
Boy, you wear it well.
Thank you so much. You wear it well, too, I have to say.
I mean, he does. Crockett exudes country cool. The white cowboy hat, the turquoise belt, the stubble. Oh, and don't even get me started on all the gorgeous vintage country outfits he takes on the road with him.
Wow. Your costumes are in like a vault. Do you have a favorite jacket or
Yeah,
a jacket you forgot you owned?
I wear this one a lot.
Oh, I love the fringe on that.
This one's nice. You don't even need to wear nothing under. You just button it up.
Ooh, look at the stitching on it. My dream would be to see you wear this jacket with the leather stitching tonight with the white flower boots.
Okay.
But, my dreams don't always come true.
I'm gonna give it a shot. You know, when I first was getting off the street and out of the bars, got my first agent on the street in New Orleans where I started dressing up. And the main reason was being like a hobo that I was, I started dressing up so the tourists would take me serious. I used to do a little jig for the tourists in front of Cafe Du Monde.
But then you ended up preferring the street as your amphitheater. Like, you spent years playing in New York, right? Also on the subway platform, in subway trains.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like, I'm just sort of picturing this train barreling underneath Manhattan, and you're singing country and blues. Did you feel a little bit out of place?
Yeah, but you know, I wanted to go to New York because of Bob Dylan. Because of his songwriting. And then slowly but surely over a couple of years, I started getting better. You know, because I was spending, I was playing 10 hours a day.
Wow, that's a lot of practice.
They laughed at me in New York City. Called me a fool in L.A. I doubt that Nashville saw me coming.
But wait, go to the album covers, because I want to talk about that. Your album covers have this really cool look. Vintage, classic.
Yeah.
What is it that you're trying to channel in these covers?
I love the old records because you didn't have all this digital streaming and all this stuff. It was like you had to tell the story with the picture to sell it to somebody. You know, you had to summarize what you were about in a short paragraph on the back of that thing as much as they could stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, I hear it in your sound too. Like the arrangements in your albums, they harken back to this older time in country.
Because it's hard luck and circumstances that brought me here.
How do you find the right balance between resurrecting an older style of music versus creating something new and different that you can completely call your own?
Well, it's funny you should say that because I feel like I'm at this kind of crossroads, like I'm in this kind of vortex.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about making a statement more than a financial impact, right? But let's be honest here, like the agents, the publicists, the studios, the labels, they can tell you they're about this, that, and the third, but it's just about money, right? And if you think it's about something else, you're gonna get bruised. I didn't lobby for a Grammy. I refused to join the committees. I don't advertise to consider me for the Grammys. I'm not about that. I don't.
Are you annoyed you got nominated?
No. I'm honored. It's great.
Okay.
It's great to be recognized. I'm just saying I don't do it for that.
But also at this point in your career, you've played the Ryman, you've performed with Willie Nelson, you've toured all over the world. Like, what does a Grammy nomination mean to someone who's already accomplished so much?
Well, it means a whole lot to my mom.
Maybe that's enough then.
Yeah. She's proud of me for sure.
Something your mama might be thinking about is the pace of your life right now, though. I read earlier in your career, the more you toured, the worse you felt. Like you would get tired, dizzy, out of breath. And it turned out you had this potentially fatal heart valve problem. So you had open heart surgery back in 2019. By the way, how are you feeling today?
Oh, yeah. Well, I ain't pushing up daisies yet.
Okay. But you are not slowing down at all. I was looking, you put up 15 albums in the last 9 years, and then your tour schedule this past year, every single month you are performing somewhere. And we're talking about Australia, the UK, Canada.
I was out for 4 months straight last summer.
So why are you moving at such a rapid, ferocious pace?
Yeah, I don't know, because all the people I've ever related to, everybody's working so hard their whole life. Kind of work so hard that you don't have kind of time to stop and take it all in, and
are you afraid to stop?
Yeah.
Why?
I guess I'm afraid of getting fenced in. As you move in further into this business, the the ticket sales go up, but the ticket price goes way up. I can tell you it puts a pressure on you to be like, well, I need to do something more.
Gosh, so you make it sound like making it as an artist means constantly feeling inadequate.
Oh, I didn't mean
You're
to put
never
it like,
enough.
didn't mean to put it like that, but I mean, you could just say that's what it feels to be American.
America, I just keep working. Doesn't matter how I feel. America, it's been said that my whole life is in your hands.
Right? Well, that's what we're taught to do. You know, you got to work. You got to swing that hammer. And you know what? I'm not mad about that. I'm going to keep swinging that hammer.
Get ready to turn
I'm just going
right.
to keep doing it.
Well, keep swinging that hammer, Charlie Crockett. And congratulations on your first Grammy nomination, no matter how you feel about the Grammys. Seriously, congratulations.
I'll give it to my mama if I ever get one.
It was so great talking to you. Thank you.
The pleasure's all mine.
America, you know why? Can be hard to understand.
Charlie Crockett, up for the Grammy Award for Best Americana Album. Stay tuned this week as we meet more first-time Grammy nominees.
Ready to work.
This is NPR News.
Rerouting.
Support for NPR comes from the station and from Progressive Insurance, where drivers can compare direct rates using Progressive's rate comparison tool. Customers can see options and rates side by side. More at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. From the Wallace Foundation, working to develop and share practices that can improve learning and enrichment for young people and the vitality of the arts for everyone. Ideas and information at wallacefoundation.org. From Eric and Wendy Schmidt through the Schmidt Family Foundation, working toward a healthy, resilient, secure world for all. On the web at theschmidt.org. And from the William T. Grant Foundation, supporting research to improve the lives of young people at WTGrantFDN.org.
This is News 88.7. I'm Brenna Valdivia. There's a 20% chance of showers late tonight into tomorrow morning. Otherwise, patchy fog after 9 p.m. and cloudy skies with a low in the mid-50s. Tomorrow's highs in the mid-70s. That chance of showers continues to increase throughout the day tomorrow into Thursday at 90%. It's currently 60 degrees with some haze here at the University of Houston. Support comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' comp carrier dedicated to handling claims proactively to help injured employees get back on the job and policyholders get back to business. More at texasmutual.com/claims. I-10 Katy Freeway managed lane westbound at Kirkwood Road has an accident. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. And News and Brews is back February 25th. Go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate to snag your ticket today. It's 6 o'clock.
Will you be allowed to serve? For how long? If you're a trans person who is allowed to stay, will you be allowed to be promoted? Those unknowns create fear.
President Trump signs executive orders to ban transgender troops from serving openly in the military.
For Tuesday, January 28th, it's All Things Considered from NPR News.
I'm Mary Louise Kelly.
And I'm Ari Shapiro. Ahead this hour, the latest on a power struggle that has consumed Sudan for nearly 2 years.
What many people don't know is that the conflict has created the world's largest displacement crisis. It's bigger than Ukraine, it's bigger than Gaza.
Also, Joseph Fender's new spy thriller takes on the lavish lives of Russian oligarchs.
They are, and were, I should say, princes of capitalism in a sense, until the war in Ukraine began.
And why the Mona Lisa is moving to a new room in the Louvre.
Eleanor Beardsley has the latest from Paris after the news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Spear. The fallout from an OMB memo that detailed a federal funding freeze set to take effect this evening was fast and furious, with agencies wondering whether or not they'd be affected. So we hear from From NPR's Tamara Keith, even after some White House explaining, it wasn't much clearer.
The language in the original memo was quite broad and has caused widespread confusion about just what funding might be cut off. So throughout the day, there have been some clarifications from the White House. Among those clarifications is that the pause does not apply across the board. It doesn't affect direct payments to Americans like Medicaid, student loans, or food assistance. The White House has had a lot to say about what isn't affected, but they've been far less clear about what is going to be affected and how.
In the end, a federal judge stepped in to temporarily block the spending freeze until next week. The White House said it wanted the funding pause to conduct an ideological review of government spending. The Office of Personnel Management has offered deferred resignation to some federal employees, inviting them to resign on or before September 30th of this year. Employees who accept the offer by February 6 will retain their current salary and benefits, but not have to follow the Trump administration's return to office policies. That's according to screenshots of the OPM memo that were provided by federal employees. Employees who want to accept the offer have been asked to sign a letter acknowledging their agencies, quote, may make adjustments, including moving, eliminating, consolidating, reassigning positions and tasks, reducing official duties, and or placing employees on paid administrative leave until the resignation date. Oklahoma's State Board of Education has advanced a rule today that would require schools to collect citizenship or legal immigration status and enrollment. State Impact Oklahoma's Beth Wallace has the story.
The rule would require districts to record the number of enrolled students without legal status and submit that number to the State Department of Education, excluding personally identifiable information. State Superintendent Ryan Walters says the rule is going to help make informed decisions about school allocations.
Well, what we are doing is ensuring that we have the documentation around the child to understand if they are a legal citizen for the purposes of resources and personnel alignments.
The rule passed unanimously. It now heads to the state legislature for consideration. For NPR News, I'm Beth Wallace in Tulsa.
The unveiling by China of a new artificial intelligence deep learning model that appears to rival some much more expensive U.S. AI options has been rattling financial markets, though things seem to have calmed down a bit today. China, lacking access to some of the most advanced chips through a company called DeepSeek, has now demonstrated its new AI model works. Stocks closed higher today amid rebound in some tech sector shares. The Dow was up 136 points. This is NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Gail DeLauder. As you've been hearing during NPR News, a coalition of Democratic state attorneys general will sue over President Trump's order freezing the release of federal loans and grants. A federal judge has now temporarily blocked the freeze. News 88.7 government reporter Andrew Schneider says Harris County may join the suit.
The freeze has the potential to cut off hundreds of millions of dollars in federal aid to Harris County, according to County Attorney Christian Menefee.
The Trump federal funding freeze is illegal, it's reckless, and it will hurt families in Harris County who rely on flood prevention, health services, and disaster relief.
Menefee says he'll ask county leaders for permission to sue at next week's Commissioners Court meeting.
Trump has no authority to withhold money that Congress has already approved. It's unconstitutional. Violates federal law, and we're ready to fight back.
Trump's order remains blocked at least until Monday under the order of a Rhode Island federal court. I'm Andrew Schneider, News 88.7.
A Houston man pardoned by President Trump after the 2021 insurrection is now wanted on another charge. News 88.7's Kyle McClanagan says a man was released even though he had a pending warrant out of Harris County.
Andrew Talkie was released from federal prison in Florence, Colorado on January 20th, Trump's first day in office. Talkie had previously been sentenced to 6 years in prison after pleading guilty to assaulting officers with bear spray and a whip-like weapon. On Monday, the Harris County District Attorney's Office confirmed that it had requested federal authorities to hold Talkie on a pending warrant related to his alleged online solicitation of a minor in 2016. The Federal Bureau of Prisons declined to comment on why Talkie was not held on the warrant, saying that he was released in accordance with Trump's pardon. The DA's office said it is now working to locate and arrest Talkie. I'm Kyle McClanagan, News 88.7.
Rockets basketball tonight. They're in Atlanta to play the Hawks. Tip-off is at 6:30. Cloudy skies, patchy fog. That's a possibility later on tonight. Slight chance of rain with a low near 55 degrees. It'll be cloudy on Wednesday. Chance of rain 30%. And the high for the day should be around 69 degrees. I'm Gail DeLauder, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations, other contributors,
others include Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, and the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, helping NPR advance journalistic excellence in the digital age.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Mary Louise Kelly.
And I'm Ari Shapiro. President Trump signed a number of new executive orders last night aimed at the U.S. military. Some are describing the orders as part of a campaign to reshape the military itself. But with an institution as vast as the Pentagon, it's not clear what the extent of the changes will be. Let's hear more from NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin, who covers health policy, and NPR Pentagon correspondent Tom Bowman. Good to have you both in the studio.
Hello.
Hi. To start with you, Selena, one of these executive orders focuses on service members who are transgender. What does it say?
Well, it says that it's a revival of the trans military ban that started back in 2017. It's no surprise that Trump signed this order. He talked about it a lot on the campaign trail. This executive order is light on details right now in terms of who will be affected and how it will all play out, but it appears to be more sweeping than the trans military ban in the first Trump administration.
And, well, how so? What does it say?
Well, that original policy, what it did is it said you could not start transitioning or enlist if you were transgender, but service members who were already receiving gender-affirming care like hormones could carry on. This new order looks like it will apply to those current service members, too, as in people who might be kicked out even if they've served honorably for years and are close to being eligible for their pension. Patricia King is a transgender Army veteran who's connected to a lot of trans people who are actively serving.
There are questions about who will be allowed to serve, for how long. If you're a trans person who is allowed to stay, will you be allowed to be promoted? There's a lot of questions, and those unknowns create fear.
And Ari, I'm sure a lot of people will wonder how many trans people are in the military. Advocates say about 15,000. I asked a Pentagon official, does that sound right? He said we only know who is transgender if they got some sort of medical treatment for gender-affirming care. That would be in their records, and that number is around 2,000.
And Ari, by the way, a striking thing to note is that last time, if you wanted to stay in the military, you needed a diagnosis of gender dysphoria to be grandfathered in. Now it seems like that diagnosis could be used against people to kick them out.
Tom, these executive actions also took aim at diversity programs. What is that order?
Well, the president already got rid of DEI training, which is minimal. Just last month, the Army Secretary Christine Wormuth said on NPR that in basic training, the Army spends 95 hours on rifle marksmanship and 1 hour on equal opportunity training. Now, for many years, the Pentagon has said the military must look like America, and they have tried to bring more women and African Americans into the services at all levels. But officials and lawmakers insist there are no quotas. So that would be a question for Secretary Hegseth. Tell us where the quotas or preferential treatments are. Hegseth also said yesterday he would keep Joint Chiefs Chairman General C.Q. Brown, although just a couple of months ago, Ari, he said Brown should be fired for being involved with DEI. So, and another question for Hegseth is, well, who do you believe got a senior job because of diversity and not merit, and would you fire them?
Another one of these orders is about troops who were let go over their refusal to be vaccinated during their pandemic. Trump mentioned this during his inaugural address.
That's right. The Defense Authorization, though, Act back in 2023 called for bringing back the 8,000 the Pentagon says were kicked out for not taking the COVID vaccine. Nearly all were junior service members with around 2 years of duty. Just about 80 came back. Is it possible some of the others could come back under this new executive order? Sure, but it seems like the numbers will be very, very small.
Well, Selena, back to you on the question of court challenges. With the first transgender military ban, there was a long legal battle. Is that likely to happen again?
Yes, indeed. It already started. A lawsuit challenging the transgender ban was filed just hours after the order was signed. It was brought by 6 currently serving trans service members and 2 trans people in the process of joining the military. Other groups say they're preparing more lawsuits. So King, the Army veteran I spoke with, pointed out that regardless of the details of the policy and the legal challenges, this order could invite harassment for transgender troops in day-to-day life. So they're really feeling nervous right now.
That is NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin and Tom Bowman. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sudan's army claims that country's civil war has reached a turning point after a major victory in the capital, Khartoum. The power struggle between the army and a paramilitary group has consumed Sudan, one of Africa's largest countries, for nearly 2 years. And the human toll of the conflict continues to rise, as Kate Bartlett reports from Johannesburg. A warning to our listeners, you will hear the sound of gunfire in her story.
A moment of celebration for Sudanese army soldiers after they retook their military headquarters in the capital, Khartoum, over the weekend. It had been besieged by the paramilitary rapid support forces since 2023. Addressing officers there, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan boasted the army was in its, quote, best condition. But across the country, civilians are still bearing the brunt of the brutal 21-month war. On Sunday, the World Health Organization said about 70 people had been killed in a drone attack on the last functioning hospital in the city of Al Fasher, North Darfur.
Dozens of civilians were killed at the only hospital that is operating now.
Adib Youssef is the former governor of Central Darfur.
The situation in Al Fasher for the civilian population is very challenging situation and it's extremely difficult.
It was not immediately clear which group carried out the attack on the Saudi Teaching Maternal Hospital, though Nimet Ahmadi, president of the Darfur Women Action Group, blamed the RSF.
These are patients who are very helpless seeking medical treatment, and all of them are civilians. And this is not the first time.
The US and others say the RSF is committing genocide in Darfur. The army has also been accused of war crimes. The fighting in Sudan has displaced some 12 million people, says Clementine Nkweta Salami, the UN resident and humanitarian coordinator in Sudan.
What many people don't know is that the conflict has created the world's largest displacement crisis. It's bigger than Ukraine, it's bigger than Gaza.
Hunger is affecting 25 million people, and more than 500,000 Sudanese are now facing famine conditions. Khulud Hair, a Sudanese political analyst, said even when there is food in the shops, inflation makes it incredibly expensive.
Buying a gun is cheaper than buying a week's worth of groceries in some parts of the country.
For NPR News, I'm Kate Bartlett in Johannesburg.
Turn left.
French President Emmanuel Macron announced a massive overhaul for the Louvre Museum today. It'll include a new entrance and a separate room for Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, the museum's most visited painting. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente.
Standing in front of the Mona Lisa, President Emmanuel Macron announced a colossal project to bring the world's most visited art museum up to modern standards in a time of international mass tourism, the digital age, heightened security requirements, and climate change. And for those who think this might not be the time for a culture project with such disarray in the world, Macron had a message.
Surtout dans ces temps, avoir le sens de l'innovation et de l'audace.
It's especially important to embody a spirit of innovation and boldness, and think ambitiously in an era where forceful rhetoric holds hypnotic sway over so many. The importance of culture and art is a message France must convey to the world. This is also a political battle.
In a letter leaked to the press this month, the museum's director detailed its state of dilapidation. Leaky ceilings, temperature fluctuations, a lack of facilities for visitors. Elaine Sciolino can attest to that. Her book, Adventures in the Louvre, How to Fall in Love with the World's Greatest Museum, comes out in April.
I have one unbreakable rule for visitors. Never go to the Louvre on an empty stomach or with a full bladder.
Sciolino remembers seeing buckets collecting drops on one rainy day. She says the former palace is also vulnerable because it lies on the banks of the Seine. She remembers the flood of 2016.
In 48 hours, all of these employees wrapped and crated 35,000 art objects stored underneath and hauled them to higher ground. It was the museum's most ambitious evacuation since World War II.
That's when Louvre employees spirited away thousands of artworks ahead of the Nazi invasion. I meet art critic Didier Rickner Wickner next to architect I.M. Pei's glorious glass pyramid, illuminated by the setting sun. I love it with the sun on it slightly. Commissioned in the 1980s by former President François Mitterrand, the pyramid entrance was designed to accommodate 4 million visitors a year. Today, there are twice that many. Wickner says the Mona Lisa has been another challenge.
It's a problem forever because Mona Lisa, everybody wants to see it, and it is very difficult to manage with the people who want to see it because there are too many.
D'installer la Joconde.
La Joconde, or the Mona Lisa, said Macron, will be given her own exhibition space. The 6-year project will be fully funded by the museum's own resources, ticket sales, sponsorships, and the Louvre Abu Dhabi licensing agreement. Wickner believes the politically weakened Macron was looking for another sweeping project after Notre Dame.
I think Emmanuel Macron wants to appear as the savior of the Louvre. It's evident.
Because he just saved Notre Dame.
Yes, he just saved Notre Dame. He's a superhero and he wants to save the Louvre.
Paris will hold an international architectural competition to build the new entrance and galleries, which will open by 2031 at the latest, says Macron. The reborn Louvre will be a world epicenter for art and the teaching of art history, and aims to welcome some 12 million visitors a year. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
This is NPR News.
I want to make a movie about this.
The Arts Hour brings you film,
The themes in it are so far ahead of their time.
books,
The detail is amazing.
art,
There's all the personal stuff.
theatre,
Lots of singing and dancing and colours.
music,
The dance floor is made for dancing.
and everything in between.
I want it to be exciting.
That's the Arts Hour with me, Nikki Beatty.
I really identified with it.
From the BBC.
The Arts Hour, Friday nights at 9 on News 88.7. Before, during, and after the storm, Houston Public Media is here for you.
You're listening to News 88.7 special coverage. We continue to monitor the snow falling.
This is a serious Arctic blast. It's dangerous. It's life-threatening.
Continue to stay off the road. Thank you for doing so far. And that's been the reason this has not turned into a major tragedy.
Keeping you safe and informed. Houston Public Media News 88.7 and HoustonPublicMedia.org. Houston Public Media brings to you PBS World, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on TV 8.6. Experience the personal connection behind the headlines with programming devoted to telling stories that humanize complex issues. PBS World helps us understand the movements, conflicts, and cultures that connect us all. PBS World on TV 8.6 and online at HoustonPublicMedia.org.
Donations come in many forms: a monthly membership, a one-time gift, and that extra vehicle you no longer need. We take any kind of vehicle in any condition. Learn more at HoustonPublicMedia.org/cars. And thank you.
Support comes from GiveMeTheVIN.com. Purchasing vehicles online with the VIN or license plate and photos, or by bringing the vehicle to Houston area offices. Details at GiveMeTheVIN.com.
This is News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Fisher Investments. Fisher is committed to helping clients stay on track to reach their financial goals and enjoy a comfortable retirement. FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. From Indeed, designed to be an end-to-end hiring solution for businesses of all sizes to attract, interview, and hire candidates, all from one platform. Learn more at Indeed.com/NPR. And from listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Ari Shapiro.
And I'm Mary Louise Kelly. The opening pages of the novel The Oligarch's Daughter introduce us to a man named Grant Anderson. He builds boats in New England. It is early morning. He is preparing to take a new client out on a fishing charter. The man arrives at the dock, and Grant Anderson detects a whiff of a Slavic accent, which makes his stomach turn. Turns out boat builder Grant Anderson is not the man he claims to be. He is in hiding, on the run from Russians who want him dead, and his client is actually a hitman there to kill him. Joseph Fender is the author of this cat and mouse tale, and he's here with me now. Joseph Fender, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Introduce us a bit more fully to Grant Anderson without revealing too much. How does he wind up in this mess?
Well, Grant, I guess I can reveal, is actually Paul. And Paul is a guy who is on the run from a Russian oligarch and his bad guys. And he's gone into hiding in a small town in New Hampshire where he's lived for 5 years. And Grant has set up a new life for himself, all cash, in which he is building boats, takes payment in cash only. He doesn't want to leave a trace or record anywhere because he is not actually Grant Anderson. He is a guy named Paul Brightman.
Well, let's go to the Paul side of the story and to the title of the book, The Oligarch's Daughter. The Oligarch's Daughter is one Tatiana Belkin. What is her story?
Well, Paul meets Tatiana at a fundraiser in New York, and they immediately hit it off. They both decide to leave the fundraiser early, and he thought that she was working there, and she turns out to be a guest the way he is a guest. And they start dating. They really fall for each other. Tatiana does not reveal to Paul for months who she really is. She's living in an artist's studio apartment in New York, and he just thinks she's a photographer. And only later does he learn that her father is a billionaire oligarch, and he becomes friendly with the father and with the family. And Paul realizes that he really likes Russian culture. He really likes the Russian family that he's getting closer and closer to.
You also remind us that when it comes to Russian oligarchs, there's rich and then there's oligarch rich.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about how you made that distinct in the book.
Yeah. So, I won't say I talk to oligarchs because nobody would self-identify as an oligarch. But the oligarchs in Russia today, they're not rulers. They have made a deal with Putin to keep their fortune and stay out of politics. So this guy, Arkady, is a billionaire who runs a sort of hedge fund in New York and wants Paul to work for him. Arkady is a kind of a charming, jovial, lovable guy, and at the same time he's quite sinister. And Paul doesn't know what to make of him until the FBI comes up to Paul and tells him they want him to inform on his father-in-law. And Paul, of course, refuses that. He doesn't want to be unfaithful to his wife. They get married, obviously. And he doesn't want to be disloyal to his father-in-law. And he's terrified.
And he's doing all this while eating the finest caviar and sipping Dom Perignon on yachts.
That's
I'm
right.
so hoping, Joseph Fender, you will tell me that you got to go out sailing around with rich Russians on their yachts in the name of research.
I didn't sail on yachts with rich Russians. What I did was I tracked down the captain of a super yacht who is often hired by oligarchs to captain their yachts. And I was able to get all kinds of great detail from this guy, including, for instance, the fact that one of the oligarchs he worked for had a custom-made submarine inside his yacht that he would take out his guests on. So I thought, this is a detail I've got to use. Too good to be true.
It sounds so Bond villain. This is real?
Yep. It is real. It is real. And, but what's interesting about these oligarchs is that they are billionaires. They own sports teams. They are also patrons of the art in the U.S. They are sort of, I call them the new Medicis. And they are, and were, I should say, princes of the realm, princes of capitalism in a sense, until the war in Ukraine began. And then they were a persona non grata. Overnight, they were forced out of the country. And this transformation, going from being somebody that you wanted on the board of your museum or your hospital or your university to someone who you wouldn't acknowledge, was to me humanly fascinating, and it made this an interesting story to tell.
One challenge you had to grapple with that I imagine is new from when you were first writing about Russia is how a person like Grant Anderson can disappear in the digital age with cameras everywhere, facial recognition everywhere. How did you solve that?
Exactly. I read a number of books on how to disappear. There's a lot of them. Most of them aren't very good. But I talked to one particular expert, and he told me that the secret these days is to find a small town where they don't have CCTV cameras and to live a life based on cash. Do not open a bank account, or if you open a bank account, don't earn any interest. And there's all kinds of things
you don't have to report for taxes.
Exactly. You do not want the IRS tracking you down. They will find out who you really are. So it's a real challenge these days. It's not like the old days in early thrillers I used to read where you could just disappear by forging a passport. It doesn't work that way anymore. It's much, much more difficult.
One last character I have to ask you about because of her name. You have a character named Mary Louise. She works in audio. She's a podcaster. She's a total busybody.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration?
Wasn't you, I promise.
You've disappointed me again.
I'm so sorry, but yeah, she's got a podcast. She's the wife of his best friend from college days, and Mary Louise is sort of a busybody, and we like her, and then we don't like her so much, and you know, it's one of these things that you want a character who another character is going to rub up against and create sparks, and that's what Mary Louise is for in the book.
Joseph Fender, he is author of The Oligarch's Daughter. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Louise.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
This is News 88.7.
I think it would actually be a mistake to think that these kind of strategies are limited just to like Hollywood. You know, it makes you wonder how these strategies are being applied in other realms by politicians, by governments, by business executives.
I'm Natalie Kitroeff. That's Today on the Daily from the New York Times.
That's The Daily tonight at 7 here on News 88.7.
Keep left.
Support comes from the School of Science and Technology, a public charter school providing academic development through college preparatory and STEM-based learning models. Grades pre-K through 12 enrollment open now. Details at sstschools.org. And Signify Business Cash by Wells Fargo. With this business credit card, cardholders can earn reward on business purchases with no caps or categories to track. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/signify. Terms apply. This is News 88.7.
Marketplace is supported by Clear Channel Outdoor, offering a nationwide network of billboards and data solutions that help businesses build brand awareness and influence consumer behavior. Billboardsforbusiness.com.
You know that saying, it's not how old you are, it's how old you feel? For the economy, it kind of is how old you are. From American Public Media, this is Marketplace.
Marketplace is supported by Progressive Insurance. On the road and at home, customers can simplify their insurance needs and protect what's important by bundling home and auto with Progressive Insurance. Learn more about Progressive and bundling at progressive.com. And by DialPad, helping businesses deliver customer support with AI-powered tools that provide real-time agent coaching, call summaries, and customer sentiment analysis, designed so support teams can deliver a better customer experience. DialPad.com.
In Los Angeles, I'm Kai Risdell. It is Tuesday. It's today, the 28th of January. Good as always to have you along, everybody. This job, as I believe I've said before, takes one to some unexpected places.
5, 6, ready, right together, left together, right together, left.
She keeps going faster and faster and faster and faster. Man, this is hard. I would totally get lost. We start today in the middle of a line dancing class because, silly as it might seem, the people in this class are the driving force behind a changing economy. We kicked off our new series yesterday, The Age of Work it's called, about how the demographic shifts happening here in the United States and abroad are shaking up the global economy. And we started in Cumberland County, Tennessee.
Keep right and then exit.
This project, we should tell you, is in partnership with ADP Research. They crunched the numbers for us. And they found that Cumberland County has one of the oldest workforces in the United States. And what we found there is a story about what happens to a place as the working age population becomes more and more outnumbered by retirees with time on their hands and money to spend. And if demographics are destiny, as economists like to say, what's happening in Cumberland County is eventually going to play out in every part of this economy.
Caution, please mind the speed.
Line dancing at 9:30 on a Thursday morning. I don't know. I just don't know. Suffice it to say, I will not be line dancing. ADP Chief Economist Neela Richardson and I are outside a library in Fairfield Glade. The median age here is about 70. The library is home to that line dancing class that we started with. And we're here because the people in this class are driving the demographic change in Cumberland County. Hi, I'm Kai. Nice to see you. How are you?
Hi, Kai. Nice to meet you.
Good morning.
Sorry about the microphones.
Okay.
Good morning, I'm Kai. That's Adria Cook. She is 67 years old, and like pretty much everybody in Fairfield Glade, she and her husband Wendell are transplants. Moved here from New Jersey in 2020.
Jersey girl. Met at Ohio State.
Oh, there you go. That's
so, how did we come to be standing outside the multi-purpose building, the library here in Fairfield Glade, Tennessee?
Because I teach line dancing here.
Of course you do.
Yes, and I teach ballroom in the afternoon.
Dancing, in case you can't tell, is kind of Adria's thing. Wendell is basically her assistant.
I have the radio on, and we'll be having breakfast, and I'll just get up and start. We do a dance to that, and I'll just start doing it. And when we built the house, everybody's like, "Man cave upstairs." I'm like, "No, dance room."
Right. And you have a partner. You have a built-in partner, which is fantastic too. That's the hardest part.
It is. It is.
How did you come to teach line dancing?
I taught line dancing back in New Jersey, and ballroom and swing and Latin and country and
wow.
Yes, all of it. We both did. And then when we came down here, we started taking line dance classes. Teacher, and she'll be here. She's 87 years old, and she was like, "That's it. I've had it. It's yours."
We met outside the library because a yoga class was wrapping up inside. When Adria and Wendell first moved to Fairfield Glade, they got a welcome packet full of pages and pages of clubs and classes and other activities, about 75 of them by our count.
My neighbor's in a German club, and she plays bridge, but I play mahjong. He plays pickleball, he golfs, and sometimes I pickleball, and we dance, and those are the things we're into.
Once yoga let out, we went inside so that Adria could set up for class. There's a table for people to sign in and pay their $5. It covers the cost of renting the room and maybe gives Adria some pocket money if there's anything left over. She spends about 10 minutes setting up, getting all her gear on. Okay, wait, sorry. We have to talk about this. You're putting a Camelback on. Why?
Because when I call every single step to every single song for 2 hours, I get dry.
Oh.
So I have to drink, and I tell them it's vodka. Honestly.
You sound like a little bit of a taskmaster.
No.
I say that in the gentlest possible way.
But if I don't call the dance, they stop. So
they don't know what to do, right?
Right. So I call it. But it's a test. We all forget. We're getting older.
All 25 or so people in class were women, except for Wendell. Mid-50s to 80 plus, including the 87-year-old former teacher that Adria mentioned, who took her spot in the back corner. Adria, of course, was front and center with her Camelback and headset with a microphone so that everybody could hear her calling out every single step as promised.
Your nerds would enjoy this.
Yeah. No, ma'am. I'm good. I think Neil is going to join us. Neela, for the record, a much better sport than me. She did join the class. She nailed the moves, which honestly were more complicated than I had expected. The group moved back and forth across the room, turned to face every wall, in turn, helped each other remember the combinations, sometimes looking to Wendell for backup. Adria called out modifications for the women she knows have a hip or a knee issue.
How's it feel? Where's your weight? Left. Yes.
After the hour of class, she teaches another second hour. Some women pay a few bucks more and stay for both. You guys were great.
Yeah.
Seriously, it was fabulous.
Thanks for the lesson. I appreciate it.
What did you say to the next dance for you? Okay, thanks. You'll let me know.
That was amazing. It was great. It was great. And the best part was there were some who were like totally into it, knew everything, and were actually, jamming. And then there were some that were trying to keep up.
I have to say, having done that dance, at first I was like, wow, this is really slow. And then as the song progresses, you realize that your heart is pounding a little bit and you're getting into the flow of it. And to do that for 2 hours.
And imagine being like 80, right?
I know, the choreography, the brain, remembering the steps, looking
cool.
around. It actually is this mind-body connection that I could see how that would be so beneficial.
It was really cool. It was cool to see, actually. This is life in Fairfield Glade, and there are thousands more retirees like these line dancers, each with their own clubs or classes or organizations that they're involved with. This population is changing Cumberland County's demographics, and with it, shifting the local economy. We talked yesterday about the influx of retirees driving up housing costs here and increasing demands on local businesses that don't have enough younger, working-age people to fill jobs to meet that demand. But they present a business opportunity too, these retirees do, if you're in the right industry. Mountaintop Fabrics and More. It's like a home. It's like a house. Not like a house, it is a house. We're about 20 miles from the line dancing library in Fairfield Glade in a rural part of Crossville. Homes on acres of land, some working farms with cattle and the like. We're off a one-lane road and up a long, windy driveway.
Hi, good morning.
Wow, this is definitely Fabrics and More.
Yes.
Hello. I am doing mechanical work this morning, putting together equipment and stuff.
David Mahan is the owner of Mountaintop Fabrics and More. He was in the middle of building a magazine rack when we showed up. David grew up on this property back when the whole thing was a dairy farm. He's 59, recently retired from 4+ decades in the ministry.
I've quilted for about 25 years. My dream was always one day to do something like this, but, never thought it'd be a possibility. And so when I stepped down, I just jokingly asked my mother, who still lives here and where we raised up.
We should say here, we're in your mom's garage.
We're my mother's garage. She built this. And I said, jokingly, why don't you let me have that front part to open up a fabric store? And my mother and younger brother who lives with her says, well, sure. Well, he ain't doing nothing with it. So it was a dream come true because I wouldn't have the overhead,
Sure.
It's your mother.
You're not paying your mom rent?
I can pay her when I want to. So
oh, that must be nice.
She's just glad to have me on this side of the county, I guess. So I just started ordering fabric and opened up the very end of August, the 1st of September, and it's been nonstop since then.
We visited in November, so the store had only been open for about 2 months. And first thing on a Wednesday morning, there were 2 customers walking around, taking it all in. Doesn't actually feel like a garage at all. It's big, it's well lit, with David's quilts covering the walls, and lots of tables with fabric and patterns and sewing machines. He said customers usually spend an hour in the store, and that a lot of them own what are called long-arm quilting machines.
And those start a small economical to start point is $12,000.
$12,000?
$12,000. A typical quilting machine will run you anywhere from $20,000 to $60,000.
This sounds like more than a hobby then. Do they do it just for the fun of it?
They do it for the fun of it. Now, we have some that do quilting for other people and that make money. But, being a retirement community, we have a lot of people who come in looking for fabrics and stuff to quilt.
Yeah. How did you know the market would be here?
My daughter-in-law, who is from Traverse City, Michigan, lives in Clarksville, and she's in the cosmetic industry, and she's in the high end. She goes, so what kind of studies did you do? I said, I just knew there was a lot of quilters here, so I just opened up a quilt store. That was it.
David saw the demographics in town and found a business opportunity.
I know of 3 quilting guilds, and quilting guilds are women who are part of a group. They come together once a month, they meet, they sew together. And again, a lot of these people are in multiple guilds. But one guild has 240-some people. One guild has 180-some people. And so we have a large quilting guild society here because of retirees.
Is it easy to start a business in this county?
It's not easy. And the only reason I was able to do this, because I'm just a middle-class guy, is because I don't have much overhead. To rent a place in Crossville is extremely high. You're looking at least $100 to $150 a square foot in retail space. So then when you spend that much money, then you got that much overhead. It's really a struggle for a small business person to stay running.
Keep left.
It's worth a mention here that you're a retiree yourself.
Well, in a sense.
I mean, you are, right?
I'm only 59, but yeah.
You did the pastoring thing
I'm
for 40
in the downhill slope, okay?
Hush your mouth. Hush your mouth. But it's you're looking for and you have found a way to keep yourself engaged and interested.
Yes.
I almost see this more of a second career than a retirement. You're growing a business.
It is. And of course, I know it's going to be at least 6 months to a year before I begin to turn a profit.
I want to let you get back to business because this lady's ready to check out. She's been very patient with us. She's been walking around with a handful of stuff for 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're getting into my profit margin here, okay?
I know. I'm sorry about that.
Keep left and then turn left.
Like David said, owning this shop
Turn
was his
left.
dream. The retirees and their money to spend and being able to work out of his mom's garage helped that dream come true. Coming up, how the aging population is affecting another business in town.
Community hospital, sole community provider. We're anywhere from...
Sorry, sole community provider. You're it around.
We're it.
But first,
Go straight
let's
on.
do the numbers. Dow Industrials gained 136 today, 0.3%, finished at 44,850 did the blue chips. The NASDAQ rose 391 points, about 2%, 19,733. The S&P 500 picked up 55 points, 0.9%, 6,067. Tech stocks bounced back after yesterday's rout. NVIDIA recovered 8.9% today. Broadcom improved 2.6%. Oracle grew about 3.6% today. The Fed started its two-day meeting on interest rates. This morning, announcement coming tomorrow, as it always does, and we will have it for you. It is worth taking a minute here to explain, I think, why we didn't blow up the show today. Why we didn't put the months of work that we put into this Tennessee series on the shelf and pivot instead to the President of the United States unilaterally pausing trillions of dollars in federal spending. And it's a fair question, but here's why. If we learned anything in the first Trump administration, it's that losing focus every time the White House does something just isn't a constructive way to cover this economy, and it's not what this program does best. Marketplace exists to help listeners understand why something's happening and why it matters to them over the long haul. So today, we decided we were going to stick to the plan. You're listening to Marketplace.
The Numbers is supported by Odoo.com, your entire business on one platform. Marketplace is supported by Viking, dedicated to bringing travelers to the heart of each destination with small ship, river, ocean, and expedition voyages, offering cultural enrichment and immersive experiences. Discover more at Viking.com. and by the Peter G. Peterson Foundation, a nonpartisan organization dedicated to raising awareness and accelerating action on America's fiscal challenges to build a brighter economic future for the next generation. Learn more at pgpf.org.
Make a difference this season. Join Houston Public Media as a new member today, and you can select a ticket to News and Brews at St. Arnold Brewing Company. Your donation of $144 will support trusted local news and give you a chance to connect with your favorite hosts over brews, bites, and conversation. Join the community that makes this possible at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Technologist Pau Garcia is using AI to create photos of people's most precious memories.
How her mother was dressed, the haircut that she remembered. We generated tens of images, and then she saw 2 images that was like, that was it.
Ideas about the future of memory. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR.
That's tonight at 9 here on News 88.7, your NPR station.
This is Marketplace. I'm Kai Rizdal. Not far from Crossville's downtown is a set of buildings that takes up a whole block, and it's a place everybody in Cumberland County is going to wind up going at some point.
Welcome to Cumberland Medical Center here in Crossville, Tennessee. I'm Randy Davis. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer and President here.
Randy's been running this hospital for 2 years now.
Community hospital, sole community provider. We're anywhere from...
sole community provider. You're it around here.
We are it.
Wow.
And so because of that, outpatient services in terms of things like, hey, come on.
The elevator? Let's get the elevator.
Yeah, let's get the elevator. And
we're having a fire drill?
Brought you in right at a fire drill.
We're having a fire drill.
Come on in. We'll get on
This one place kind of shows all the things that demographics can do, from increasing demand for certain services to shifting the workforce. The fire drill, we should say, stopped once we got up to Randy's office.
Okay, a little bit quieter. So again, welcome, but yes, sole community provider.
Yep.
Which means that even from a lab medical imaging standpoint, everybody comes here for all the outpatient services. So if a physician puts an order in, you're coming to us.
How is overall community health here?
Overall community health here is kind of classic Appalachia. So you've got a heavy tobacco utilization. We are one of the counties that are in the opioid settlement due to the overprescription of opioids in the area. So we've got a lot of addiction. Overall access to care has always been a challenge in this area. Not enough primary care physicians.
Cumberland Medical is the only hospital within about a 40-minute drive. It's licensed to run 189 beds. It's typically got around 100 staff.
Let's do this.
It's part of Covenant Health, which is a hospital system based out of Knoxville. And the people who work here, all about 800 of them, are on the receiving end of the demand for new medical services as Cumberland County gets older.
What we're looking at in this series of stories is what's happening here as retirees move into Fairfield Glade, right?
Yes, sir.
And you have, people in Crossville.
Yes.
And so the question is, somebody retiring into Fairfield Glade from Chicago, who's 3 blocks from 17 different kinds of medical centers,
right,
comes out here, and are you able to meet their needs?
We're absolutely not.
Yeah.
And so, what they're used to, one is choice.
Right.
So we're it. And we are not able to have that full breadth and depth of services that they're used to seeing in that major metropolitan area.
How do you delegate resources so you have a more affluent Fairfield Glade resident versus a traditional Crossville resident? And they're both aging.
Right.
How do you know how to resource your care? How do you make those decisions?
Yeah. So first and foremost, you have to satisfy the immediate needs of your immediate community. It's the reason that we're here, both historically and currently. When you're starting to look out at these growing communities like Fairfield Glade, there are a lot of times that I'm sitting in front of them saying, I need to satisfy my primary care physician need in Crossville proper before I begin really trying to get aggressive in putting additional primary care physician resources out here.
This is one of the tensions that Randy's got running this facility. There's the growing population in Fairfield Glade that wants more medical care and is willing to spend to get it.
Turn left.
But he's also got the people of Crossville with less money to spend, but more acute needs.
What we're going to do is walk over into kind of the old original portion of the hospital. It's going to have the ER, all of our outpatient services, as well as our cath lab. We have a 12-bed ICU, which is nearly always at capacity.
Really?
Yes.
The hospital opened here in 1950. It's had lots of renovations and expansions since as the population has grown. In fact, you got to go outside to get around.
So we'll turn right on the sidewalk right here, and what it is going to be the ambulance entrance, and then right beside that is the main ER.
Are there any nursing homes nearby?
There are. There's several. Always working with them, too, to maintain good partnerships, because I need to get patients that need to go to nursing home discharged to the nursing home in a timely manner, because then I need that bed.
Because you need the bed, right. It's not just a capacity problem, it's a staffing problem.
Our physician base is older for the most part, and that is because even as I'm doing the physician recruitment, you've got a lot that are saying, look, I'm 55. I want to work for 10 or 15 more years, and I love where you are. They're looking at it strategically, but they do have retirement on their minds. You know, they're saying, this is where I want to retire.
You have a lens on this community that I think is very unique. Can you speak to the complexity of aging, especially in a rural community like this one?
Right. So I do think that the rural communities are very unique in that. And so you're going to see females during their child rearing period of time in their life, and they're going to be pretty aggressive users of healthcare during that. The guys, no. Once mom's no longer responsible for making sure they get the appropriate care, they disappear from the healthcare system. You will not see those males reappear in the healthcare setting until there's an acute illness, or you're not going to see them again until they hit the age of 65 and they become Medicare eligible. And then we begin trying to piece together this horrific health and wellness plan for someone who's basically been absent from the healthcare system during that period of time. That's just the way it works.
That's the baseline reality for this hospital. What the Crossville population needs isn't going to change, no matter how much the customer base in Fairfield Glade grows.
It's a different consumer of healthcare. They are going to, in fact, they get upset. I can't get in for my preventative appointment. I have to have my primary care physician appointment. My mammogram is done on time. My colonoscopy gets done, and it's a different clientele.
It's easy to think that clientele is just affecting this one hospital or quilt shop or line dancing class, bringing business opportunities to this one place. But really, this is a series about how any place changes when the balance between retirees and people still in the workforce tips. Tomorrow on the program, 2 service providers that focus exclusively on helping the Crossville population. That's coming up in our next installment of The Age of Work. We visited a whole lot of small businesses while we were in Tennessee. Not all of them make it to air, obviously. We've only got so much time. But here's another one.
My name is John Barnwell, and I am the owner of Cumberland Exterminating. When I was young, I dropped out of school at an early age and got a GED, went to work early, did not know what I was going to do with my life, and I was in a rock and roll band with a guy that owned a pest control company, and this was in 1990, and so I worked for him part-time, and he was wanting to get out of the business. So I owned that business for about 10 years, went through some hard times in my life, drug addiction, a lot of terrible things. After I got my act together, I worked and managed another pest control company for a couple of years, and then I started Cumberland Exterminating. And when I went to open up the bank account in 2010 for Cumberland Exterminating. That's where I met my wife, Tina. We have about 6,000 customers right now, which is about 10% of the county. And so if you don't have the personnel to do that, it can lead to big trouble. Fairfield Glade is a big area of growth for us because so many people are moving in and we have so many customers in that area anyway. Word of mouth is wonderful. We talk every day to people from California, New York, Illinois, everywhere, Florida, people that are moving here. They need a report because they're closing on a house. So we can see the growth firsthand in here because we do so many inspections on new transactions for real estate. Our son, he's in the military right now, and he's planning on coming on board with us when he gets out. He's actually a diver in the Army. He is my key to retirement.
John Barnwell, Cumberland Exterminating, Crossville, Tennessee.
Marketplace is supported by Glassdoor. Make work life more rewarding with Adam Grant, now appearing on the new Glassdoor community. See who's hiring and what they're paying, and get Adam's tried and true tips for career success at Glassdoor.com. And by Rubrik. When cyber attacks come for the cloud and threaten business operations, Rubrik gives you the power to bounce back fast. More at Rubrik.com.
This final note on the way out today. You remember at that line dancing class how Adria mentioned the 87-year-old former teacher? Her name is Marianne Rude, and she still comes to class every week. She's actually filling in right now while Adria and Wendell are on vacation. When we were there back in November, we caught up with her right before class. Do you have to go warm up before you dance? I don't want you to get hurt.
No.
You don't? You have to warm up. Come on.
No. What do you think it is? All it is you're just moving around.
Is there a favorite dance that you have? Is there a dance that just...
September in the Rain.
September in the Rain.
Yeah, she does it the second hour.
Wait, the class is more than 1 hour? It's 2 hours? Wow.
When I started out, I taught 3 hours.
Really?
So people are getting soft now. That's what I hear you saying.
That's
what I hear you saying. 87 years old, line dances twice a week, walks 3 miles a day, every day. She doesn't dance. Our digital and on-demand team includes Carrie Barber, Jordan Manji, Dylan Miettinen, Janet Nguyen, Olga Oxman, Ellen Rolfus, Virginia K. Smith, and Tony Wagner. Francesco Levy is the Executive Director of Digital and On-Demand. And I'm Kai Risdall. We will see you tomorrow, everybody. This is APM.
This is News 88.7. I'm Brenda Valdivia. Tonight's low in the mid-50s with a 20% chance of showers late into the night into tomorrow morning. Patchy fog late tonight as well after 9 p.m. sticking around. Also cloudy skies throughout the evening as well. Tomorrow's high around 70 degrees, 30% chance of showers, increasing to 90% by Thursday before we have sunny skies back again, looks like, for the entire weekend. It's currently 60 with some fog and mist here at the University of Houston. This weather update is sponsored by Interfaith Ministries for Greater Houston. 288 southbound at McGovern Street and at 69 Southwest northbound 288 both have accidents. Support comes from Austin College, a 4-year liberal arts college offering hands-on research opportunities for students to gain professional experience. You can discover where curiosity leads north of Dallas and Sherman, Texas. More at austincollege.edu. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. And News and Brews is back February 25th at St. Arnold Brewing Company. Join your favorite Houston Public Media host for an evening of brews, bites, and conversation. Visit HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate to snag your tickets today. It's 7 o'clock.
When our story was published, I got a ton of response from people saying how eye-opening this was, even among people in Hollywood who say they had never seen anything like this before. Now we are also seeing the lengths that people will go to protect their reputations and their livelihoods.
I'm Natalie Kitroeff. That's Today on the Daily from the New York Times.
The Daily is supported by Progressive Insurance, providing direct car insurance rates side by side with other insurance carriers. Customers can see rates and find an option that works for their needs. Now that's Progressive. Learn more at progressive.com. Go deeper into the day's most pressing stories with New York Times journalists, trusted sources, and the people affected. The Daily from the New York Times, distributed by American Public Media.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Spear. Even as the flood of orders and actions from President Donald Trump continues, the first lawsuits against some of those efforts are being launched. As NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin explains, a group of 6 transgender active duty service members and 2 former service members seeking re-enlistment have filed suit in federal court opposing Trump's latest efforts to ban transgender troops in the military.
It's a revival of the trans-military ban that started back in 2017. It's no surprise that Trump signed this order. He talked about it a lot on the campaign trail. This executive order is light on details right now in terms of who will be affected and how it will all play out, but it appears to be more sweeping than the trans-military ban in the first Trump administration.
NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin. The ban initiated during Trump's first term was overturned by President Joe